Okay, reading from the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta, Book 1, Chapter 7, Text 11. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Wait 1 second. Jack, yeah, I can use the car today, right, to go to the wall, okay? Sva-sthānaṁ bhejire sarve catur-vaktreṇa bodhitāḥ saṁjñām ivāpto rāmas nīyamāno garutmatā. Advised by Brahmā, everyone else went back home. Meanwhile, as Kṛṣṇa and Balarāma were being carried by Garuḍa, Balarāma more or less regained consciousness. So I think now we're getting into the very interesting part of the story. The last chapter, there was that incredible discussion between the close associates of Krishna, Satyabhama, Rukmini, Rohini, Balaram, Uddhava, incited by Sri Narada's search for the topmost devotee, and enthusiastically, remember even at the beginning there was this incredible maze by the palace, of Krishna that was impossible to negotiate. The only thing I can think comparable to that is the streets in New Delhi. I used to go visit my friend, and it was K block, but M block came after Z block, and there's 1 and 2. It was so confusing. So those of you that have to experience that, but Narada just went right through it just by that connection. I spoke about that on Sunday. We had it's such a wonderful retreat. They're already making plans for next year. But there's a certain connection with the super soul that works much faster than you can with the intellect. And when you are surrendered to the super soul, can move you in very amazing ways that supersede any discrimination. It's not that you're doing things that are indiscriminate, but you're not doing them because there's something wrong with the intelligence, or you're not using your intelligence, but because your heart carries you. So we saw Narada and Uddhava deflecting the praise, because he's saying you're the topmost devotee, and he gives this experience of the suffering of the Bṛhad-bhāsis. And then these 2 questions come up that have to be resolved to actually fulfill the objective of the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta, which is to describe the Kasya Parama Antin, this Anarpita Charim Charat, this never before given, spontaneous, in a long time, because in the day of Krishna it's billions, millions of years. This love, this brilliant love of Krishna, spontaneous love, intimate relationship with God. So these things have to be resolved to understand the suffering of the Bṛhad-bhāsis in separation from Krishna is counterintuitively, it's real, but counterintuitively it's the highest ecstasy, and it's such an ecstatic position that God himself, to become complete, needs to have that experience as the supreme enjoyer. Supreme controller and supreme enjoyer go hand, like it's a hand in a glove, because the only purpose of control is for happiness, moving the world. It's just if you have the wrong objective, moving the world doesn't lead to happiness. It can lead to further egotistical conception that immerses you in the bodily conception of life and makes you feel more acutely the suffering of this material world. And basically, the whole material world is to help us get out of that illusion that our heart will be satisfied, our consciousness will be flourishing by enjoying and controlling, or controlling and enjoying. It'll be satisfied by serving. So anyway, to understand this mood of the gopis and the residents of Vrindavan, and then to understand why Krishna doesn't return, which is really, and he doesn't return because, and there's many reasons, but one reason he doesn't return is because that fire of separation of the gopis and Srimati Radharani is so deep that going for a short time is like throwing, sprinkling a frying pan with water. As that sprinkle will not quell the fire, a short visit. So Krishna would have to stay for a long time. And then there's other reasons why that wouldn't work. But anyway, we already got indication at the beginning of the story that Krishna is very disturbed. And this becomes revealed when all the commotion wakes up Krishna. They're outside of Krishna's room because he hasn't get out of bed, but it becomes revealed why the reason is exactly that. He's empathetic and he's suffering for the suffering of the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta. And it's very, very painful for him. It's very, very painful for him. And then when he gets up and he's awakened, and then Balarāma is there, and there's a description and a discussion of the suffering of the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta, to the extent they're sorry that Krishna killed the Kaliya serpent, because it took away an avenue in which they could easily commit suicide. So, and then Krishna breaks down, Balaram breaks down, he can hardly describe the suffering of the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta and the fear they have that Krishna will send another message, the first message with Narada, the second message with Uddhava, the third message with Balaram, another message, don't worry, the credibility is gone. With great effort, Nanda Maharaj pacified them. With great effort, Uddhava pacified them. He had to stay for 3 months. And I think they constructed places of Krishna's pastimes and they spoke Krishna-katha. So Krishna collapses and is crying, and Balarāma is crying. And then everyone around him is crying, because this is real deep emotion. The ultimate reality is an emotional reality, except that we equate emotions generally with the uncontrolled mind. These emotions are coming from the fully mature soul. The fully mature soul. So it's so powerful, how powerful it must be. It's God's emotion. It's Balarāma's emotion. It's the residence of Dwarka's emotion. And then, as it happens very quickly in a village, so difficult. Let's thank God for the Zoom. I mean, that we can keep in contact. Otherwise, it's just so hard at the beginning trying to become a guru and you're not even in contact with people. They had a more sophisticated system of communication than we have now. It was natural. Everybody lived in the village. And therefore, like lightning, word would get around. This, you say quickly. Word gets around in the village, as they hear the crying, and someone saw the crying, and Balarāma is crying, and Krishna is crying, and we're crying, and they're crying, and how quickly, like a fire, like a forest fire, quickly ablaze, the whole village becomes inflamed. The whole village becomes inflamed. And then terrible omens happen, and we described that before, that this is a system, and the analogy that was given by one scholar, modern scholar I like, the analogy was given to a car. If the seatbelt's not on, something blinks, so something's wrong, something blinks. So this lamenting, and it fills the universe, and Brahmā trying to figure out what was wrong. He comes to see himself, and he comes accompanied by the Vedas, the Puranas, and he finds his father, his spiritual master, distressed by the love of his devotees. And that love that comes from his heart is our love is our greatness. Was it Mary Angelou? I forgot. I said this once, or someone said it was her. We want to be remembered. Person is remembered not by what they did, but how they make people feel. How you make you feel is not what you did. It's what your powers are. It's what your heart is. So his heart comes out in his screaming, his anguish. The heart comes out, his love. And then Brahmā loses it. Just for a moment, though. And he begins to cry. And then Brahmā, seeing what to do, and he comes up with an idea in his heart. And then Garuḍa is crying. He's at the side of Krishna's side. That's his Lord. And Garuḍa is also crying. And Brahmā loudly, Garuḍa, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. And then he succeeds, and then he tells him that go to New Vrindavan, Nava Vrindavan, another Vrindavan by the hill and by the sea, and this was made by Vishvakarma, and it appears original. And obviously the indication is we'll put Krishna there and we'll take out his royal dress, and when he wakes up, he'll feel some satisfaction, some relief, and gradually he'll come out of this distress consciousness, and then we can reveal to him his true nature. So he gently carries them there. And only Rohini will go because she's from Vrindavan, so Krishna can, if he sees Rukmini or Satyabhama or the other queens, he'll still maintain that separation, and it won't work because he'll know that something's wrong. So Garuda somehow places them on the back, and then Brahmā tells everyone to go home, because if you come there, then we won't be able to fool Krishna that we're in Vrindavan, which will be the cure from this snake bite of separation, which appears to have bitten him, and that Krishna is lying there near dead, and this will ruin the medicine we're giving, which is the awareness of Vrindavan. And then Balaram, somehow he more or less regains consciousness. Srinandanandana Paryanke stapitashane sakshariva batishtante yatra tad gopa gopika. Upon arriving at Nava Vrindavan, Garuda and Balaram gently place Krishna on a bed. The gopas and gopis of Nava Vrindavan stood around him as if they were Krishna's real cowherd men and women. So I don't know how much tattva is there. The tattva is kind of like the horseback to Godhead, but the rasa is the driver. So we always have to give a lot of tattva or philosophy. Otherwise, the rasa won't move us, because we'll misunderstand it. But at the same time, now that we're getting this rasa, we should relish it. And I guess that's what we'll do today. Udavena sahagatya devaki putra vatsala Rukmini satyamamadhya devya padmavati chasa tadrik dashagatam krishnam ashaktas tyaktum anjasa duradrishti patetishtam naliya brahma yachnaya. Uddhava came there with Devaki, who dearly loved her son, and also with Rukmini, Satyabhama, and other queens, and Padmavati. They simply couldn't leave Krishna in such a state. So at Brahma's request, they hid themselves and took up positions some distance away from where they could still see Krishna. So they're camouflaged because they will ruin the plan of Lord Brahma, that if Krishna comes and thinks he's in Vrindavan, the separation mood that has made him in a kind of catatonic, near-dead state, it can be pacified. And the presence of the residents of Dwarka will ruin the folly, the trick. Naradastu kritagasyam ivatmanam amanyata devanam yadavanam cha sange ghanna kutuhalat vyatyan tarito bhutva bhadvaikam yogapatikam navishto bhagavat cheshta madhuryanu bhavayasa. Narada, however, thinking he had committed an offense, did not accompany the demigods and the Yadavis. Instead, with great curiosity, he hid himself in the midst of the sky, fixing himself in a yoga sitting posture to observe the sweetness, madhurya anubhavaya, chesta madhurya, the activities of sweetness of the Lord's act. Purport: it was Narada who had made Krishna so unsettled by mentioning the present state of the Brijvasis. Narada therefore thought himself an offender. In fact, however, he had not acted offensively, as Bṛhad Maharaj here indicates with the words "eva," as if. Later in this chapter we shall hear Krishna explain why Narada should not blame himself. So this is just Vaishnav. It's just a nature. Even I read someplace, I don't remember, it was about, I forgot who it was, but it mentions in conflicts, Vaishnavis are more concerned with their own faults than the faults of others. Where normally in conflict we don't see our own faults, and we see the faults of others. Because the Vaishnava is more concerned with correcting himself than correcting others. So that's not the way his consciousness works. Rather, he sees the good qualities in others and doesn't really look for their faults. So that's the pure heart. That's the pure heart. The envy heart puts other people down and promotes ourselves. The loving heart promotes others and sees ourselves. In love, reality is revealed. Premanjana charita bhakti valochaneena santatsadaiva hidayesha. Reality is revealed, and reality is very humbling. Reality is very, very humbling. So we tend to want to be under the shelter of the absolute truth. And we look where it is and follow it. I'm trying to write a Monday morning greetings. We had such a weekend, and I still haven't got fully in gear. So I just tried to write, and I had this idea to write about hierarchy. And I thought a beginning way, my father used to tell me that he liked the 33rd President of the United States, Harry S. Truman, and he had a sign on his desk, "The buck stops here." So I kind of wanted to comment on, meaning authorities don't pass, they accept responsibility and they take decisions, and they accept responsibility for those decisions, and they're not fearful, even though if they're wrong, they're held responsible. So I was kind of meditating on, and in a balanced way, because of course it takes qualified leaders, but the efficiency of those types of systems where decisions get made and where there is a rank of qualification of people and levels of authority so that decisions can be made efficiently and properly. But also with this president, the saying about him was "Give him hell, Harry," and it came from one campaign stop where someone said, "Give them hell, Harry." Oh, what did he say? I'm trying to remember. I don't want to get distracted. He said, "I don't give them hell. I just tell them the truth, and they think it's hell." So that's one second. That's the problem. We're afraid of the truth because it doesn't conform to our desires. And therefore we don't like systems where we have to follow it. Anyway, the point I'm making here is Narada is his coming. He accepted responsibility. He came. He was looking for Uddhava, and he didn't make any. There's no rationalization. It's just like Shivananda Sena. Some dog came to the Prikam, and he Vidya Vinaya Sampane, Brahmani Gavi Hashtani, Shunya Chaivasa. He saw equally, so he took care of the dog, and the boatman didn't want to take him across the river. They didn't have that dog culture in ancient India. He paid, he took him across, and he told the servant to feed him. He forgot to feed the dog disappeared, and Shivananda Sena began to look for him all night, and felt bad about it. He didn't say, "Hey, I took responsibility for this. My assistant made a mistake. That's okay. I delegated authority, but you can't delegate responsibility. You keep responsibility. With bad management, they delegate responsibility and keep authority for themselves. That's inefficient. That doesn't work. Of course, that fries out a person because he's responsible, but he doesn't have the authority to do things. So this is like real character. I accept responsibility. So Narada is not saying, "Well, it wasn't my fault," and make so many excuses. He feels terrible. This whole thing was started by him. And somehow he's accepting responsibility. So he's coming there because he wants to see. He's hoping that, he didn't kill Krishna. So he's really in anxiety, and he hits himself among the clouds, and he's sitting in a yoga posture. But he also now is beginning to relish something that he hasn't really seen, which is that sweetness, that love of Krishna, which is in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu called Akila Rasamrita Murti, the full embodiment of love, the full embodiment of love. So he's watching. So it's setting the scene now, so we'll just read it. Garudas chopare vyomna stitva pratyakshamatmana pakshabhyam acharam chayam anvavartatam prabhum. Garuda positioned himself even higher in the sky, invisibly following his master to provide shade with his wings. So Garuda is in that mood of dasyaras. This is dasyaras. These hands, which are used selfishly, are for you. And Dasyarat is the foundation of all other relationships. They're all just different flavors of that mood of wanting to please someone and putting their desires before one's own. That is love. Putting one's happiness before one's own, that is love. Making someone else's happiness our happiness, that is love. Making someone's distress our distress, that is love. Where there's no selfishness, that ultimate reality is just a selfless consciousness. There's nothing selfish. It's beautiful. Souls are beautiful when they sacrifice. Just like we had our festival, and everybody was in a service mood, and some did more, and some missed everything just for their service. And that consciousness is so beautiful because it represents the soul, and selfishness represents the embodiment of the soul. So it's so beautiful. So Garuda is serving. Ata Krishna Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta Shanena sva-sthānaṁ iva tam sarvartam abhipretya vichakshana shiramani. After a few minutes, Krishna's brother came back to normal consciousness, that best of discerning thinkers understood the entire situation. Purport: until Krishna recovered from his confusion, Balaram could not feel completely normal. This is expressed here by the word Eva, but he still recognized Brahma's plan and acted accordingly. It says as if normal consciousness, because Balaram is Swayam Bhagavan also. So in other words, Narayan is not normal consciousness for God. When they say normal, it means the fullest manifestation of consciousness is the fullest manifestation of love in your relationships. Akila Rasamrita Murti. But still, because he was Vichakshana Shiramani, because he was the crest jewel of discrimination and insight, he could understand things very, very quickly. Shipram svasya nujasyapi samarjya vandana bhujam vastro darantare vamsim shringa vetre chahastaya kante kadamba malam cha baharpidham chamurdane navam gunja vatam samcha karnayo nadate shanai. Balaram quickly cleaned his own lotus face and that of his younger brother. Then he gently placed the flute in the wet waist of Krishna's dhoti. A buffalo horn and stick in Krishna's hands, a garland of kadamba flowers around his neck, a peacock feathered ornament on his head, and newly fashioned rings of gunja berries on his ears, these little black and red seeds. So when the gopis went to Kurukshetra to see Krishna, one thing they were disturbed is that he was in Rajavesh, the dress of a king, the dress of formality, the dress of gravity, the dress of mastership, the dress of controlling the dress of formality, not the dress of intimacy. So they took him from the dress of formality to the dress of intimacy. So then he wakes up and he sees the dress of intimacy, he'll get the conception that I am Krishna in Vrindavan. Rachiyatva vanyavesham twastri kalpita vastubi galad utapayam tritva ravid uchataratsvare Thus, having arranged a forest outfit for Krishna with items made by Vishvakarma, Balarāma, with some effort, lifted Krishna and then spoke to him loudly. Purport: while dressing Krishna for the forest, Balarāma also dressed himself. The special items required were native to Braj and unavailable in Dwarka, but Vishvakarma, who had at his disposal all the creative skills of the demigods, had made convincing substitutes for real kadamba flowers, gunja berries, and so on. Sri Baladeva Uvacha, Sri Krishna Krishna Bo Bhratur, Utishto Tishta Jagrihi, Pasyadye Vilatikranta, Vishanti Pashavovanam. Sri Baladev said, Sri Krishna, Krishna, my dear brother, get up, wake up from your sleep, just see, it is now getting late, the cows are already entering the forest. So he tries to shock him emotionally. You're late, Krishna, Krishna, you're late, the cows are gone, that's your duty. Sri Damadya Vayasascha Stitva Bhavadapekshaya Snehena Pitarau Kinchin Nishaktau Bashitam Twayi. Sridham and your other friends are here waiting for you, and your parents are so filled with love that they cannot even speak to you. So they're all statues, but he's trying to create this illusion. In other words, illusion to present something to help Krishna to have Krishna see something that is not there. It's not Vrindavan, it's Dwarka, but to see Krishna, see it as Vrindavan. That's kind of illusion, to see something that's not there. But it's an illusion in service, just like Yoga Maya. When Mother Yasoda doesn't see Krishna as God, he's God, but he doesn't see God, then it's an illusion that brings one to a higher reality, actually. The higher reality is that Krishna is Akila Rasamita Murti and Swayam Bhagavan. Purport: Krishna's friends are responsible for the cows, and so when the impatient cows started to go ahead, the boys should have followed them. But Balaram indicates that the boys were too attached to Krishna to leave without him. Krishna's mother and father should have called Krishna to get out of bed and go after the cows, but Nanda and Yasoda, according to Balaram, were also distracted by ecstasy. In fact, however, Nanda and Yasoda, the cowherd boys, and the other Nava Vrindavan Vasis were unconscious dolls, immobile, and unable to say or do anything to respond to any attempts Krishna might make to communicate with them. So he's just creating an illusion, your mother, your father, your friends, and then he has these facsimiles, these incredible replicas. It's just like when people would see the deity of Prabhupada, when they'd see the deity of Prabhupada on the altar, they would see the deity of Prabhupada and they would think, wow, this is Prabhupada. Then who is this? Pashantyaste mukambojam ima gopya parasparam karna karnitaya kinchit vadantyas tvam hasantihi. These gopis are watching your lotus face and laughing at you as they whisper something in one another's ears. So he's telling him all this. They're laughing at you. Krishna's a person, and this is rasa, but it's still a person. You're not awake. The cows are already there. You're still sleeping. So trying to churn him into some emotional say, oh my God, I'm late. Purport, the gopis might be commenting to one another about why Krishna is so tired this late in the morning. They know that Krishna must have been awake through most of the night, enjoying with his beloved, and they might be noticing signs of this on Krishna's lotus face. So anyway, Krishna knows, maybe they're laughing because they know I was out all night with the gopis, with them, and now I usually wake up so no one will suspect me. Sri Parikshit uvacha itam prajalpata bhikshnam namabhischa salalanam ahuyamano hastabhyam chalyamano balena cha ramenota paimano sao saṁjñām iva chiradgata Vadan Shiva Shivete Drag Udatishtat Savismayam. Sri Parikshit said, in this way, Balaram filled the scene with talk. He called Krishna by various names, caressed him, and dragged him around in his arms until Krishna finally got up and came back to some sort of consciousness. Krishna uttered the word, Shiva, Shiva, and suddenly stood up, a look of surprise on his face. You know, one thing that was so wonderful at this retreat, and I think some of you were there, a few of you were there, is this drama done by this Alex, and I think it was a nice form of drama because it tried to put people into the drama, and that's actually what Raganuga Bhakti is. There was a book written by Professor David Haberman. It's a classic. He's a scholar in Rupa Goswami and Rasa Shastri. So his thesis was acting as a way of salvation. There actually is a meditation at a qualified level, not taken cheaply, but there is a meditation. And it was kind of nice to actually, when I was sitting there, when he was describing the Govardhan Leela, and kind of as a narrator, and then asking you to, what would you think? And I think it was a very blissful thing. Because I remember when he was first thinking of Govardhan Leela, because he's a very creative person, he was always fascinated. I know, and one day he'll write a drama about Hiranyakashipu. But he was always thinking, he told me he was thinking about the Govardhan Leela to really get into the details of the perspective. What it was like for the residents of Vrindavan as they feel that the low ground was filling up with water, and the calves were just almost drowned, and the water's rushing into their house, and the kind of anxiety that they feel, which becomes a vyabhachari bhav of their relationship with Krishna. So it's an anxiety that increases their love. Anxiety can increase love. Worried about a loved one. Anxiety can increase love. But in there's no duality. It's all ecstasy somehow. And we can't understand it until we get there. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says we can't understand everything logically. We have to have some experience, but we know from the from the Ishopanishads, Tare Jiti, Tadnai Jite, Tadure, Tadvantike, Tarantarasya Sarvasya. Krishna walks and doesn't walk. He's near and far. He has inconceivable potencies. He's beyond time and space. He does things for the first time that are eternally existing. He's all-knowing and he's forgetful at the same time. But it's just so nice to go into that Leela. So here we have the Balaram calling Krishna by various names, caressing him, dragging him around in his arms, until the effort of Balaram, the love of Balaram, so Krishna comes up and gains consciousness. And then Krishna stood up and he looked surprised, because all of a sudden, that sometimes happens when we wake up, or sometimes when we daydream and we forget where we are. That happens occasionally. I just remember the other day, I kind of took a nap, and then I just didn't realize I was waking up in the morning. I didn't realize where I was getting up. Because when you get up, initially your eyes are not open. Purport, it was not easy to awaken Krishna. Balaram tried kissing and embracing him, calling his names like Krishna, Gopal, Govinda, and coaxing him tenderly. When all else failed, Balaram resorted to physical force, dragging him out of the bed. He drags him out of the bed. Krishna finally woke up, but he was still a little bewildered, as implied by the word Eva, which indicates that he seemed to come back to normal consciousness. Bahasyan Eva Bharata, when Krishna took the position, Arjuna as his friend, as his guru. Sishishteham mam sanitvam parpanam. I'm a soul surrendered to you, please instruct me. He said, Prahasyan, Prahasya means laughter. Prahasyan, very much laughter. Eva, like. Krishna was just smiling. He wasn't laughing. And it described, it was Rasa Sunday. Sunday is Sanja, Rasa Sanja. The Sanja is it's not day, it's not night. It's when it's between things. So Krishna was going from the rasa of friend to master. So the friend is laughing and the master is more serious. So the smile was like laughing. It couldn't be complete laughing, because he was taking the position at that particular time, not just a guru, but asochan anvasochas tvam pragyavadam jabashase gatasun agatasun cha nanu sochan. Although you're speaking learned words, Arjuna, you're just a fool, because the wise lament neither for the living nor the dead. So, and Krishna opened his lotus eyes, smiled, and quickly looked around, seeing Nanda in front of him. He felt embarrassed and bowed down to him. Krishna saw Mother Yasoda also standing nearby, her eyes open and unblinking as if pasted onto her face. Laughing in joy, he lovingly spoke. Supreme Lord, dear Mother, this morning during my sleep I saw many amazing things in just a short moment, as if I were awake. He's talking about what really happened. He went to Dwarka for 100 years. I saw that I'd gone there to Madhupuri. There I saw wicked men like Kamsa slain, kings like Jarasan vanquished, the demigods. So anyway, that we'll carry on more later. Okay, Jamunajaya, you like to just say what point struck you today and reflection?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So many beautiful points today. I'm really struck by the point of the Vaishnava behavior by Narada Muni, that he doesn't, the way that the Vaishnava looks to themselves for fault, and they don't look to find fault in others, like Lord Shiva in that beautiful moment when, Sati says, to her father, what kind of person are you? And Lord Shiva is the one that he sees the best in others. So I was really just struck by that, and the way Garuda spreading his wings to give service, and then Balaram so lovingly dressing the Lord for intimacy. So, you always say to look at the stories for how we should behave, and I feel like today we got so many clues as to how to behave as these Vaishnavas do. So thank you, Maharaj.
Okay, thank you, Jamuna. And I'll think, I got your letter. I'll speak to
Okay.
Sri Rupa about Adi's kind of place. Yeah, why not? Okay.
It's very nice. Yeah.
What Adi does is expert, yeah. Gail, you have any questions?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Actually, I'm pretty good today, but thank you.
Oh my God, it must not be a good class.
It's always a good class, Maharaj.
There's no questions. Anybody else say hello?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hey, Brahmatirtha,
Hey,
we miss
good
you.
to see you. Yeah, good to see you. I like your description of Alex's play, how deep it went. It was very good.
It was, wasn't it? Very special.
Yeah,
And that was
it
just a rehearsal.
I got that. Yeah.
I spoke to him afterwards how are you still, you're in brother's house still?
Yeah.
And how long you'll stay there?
Friday I'll head back to Florida.
Okay, so you're getting to spend good time. So it all worked
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, it did. A lot to do, but it's working out well.
Okay, let's keep in touch.
Thanks.
Haribo,
Thanks.
thank you.
Haribo.
Okay, good. Anybody else like to say hello?
Hey, Krishna Maharaj, Slow Govinda.
And Braja, thank you for class.
Haribo. Sorry.
Haribo.
Nice to see both of you. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Haribo.
Okay. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Tota Gopinath here. Great to see you.
Okay, Tota, Haribo, Jai.
Haribo.
A few more people say hello.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Haribol, Hare Krishna, thank you for your class.
Come on, nice to see you.
Hare
Hare Krishna, thank you for
Nice
coming
to
up.
see you, Haribol,
Haribo.
thank you.
Good,
Hare Krishna.
good. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you again for a great weekend.
Is that your truck?
Yep.
You can watch videos in your truck?
I don't really watch the videos. I turn the camera on just to say hello, but the rest of the time I stream and listen.
Okay.
Haribo.
Thank you for coming on. Okay, anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Oh, nice to see you. Thank you for coming on. Thank you.
Hare Hare Bol.
Good. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I see that. Thanks for class. It's very good.
Okay, good to see you.
You too.
See you this weekend, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Now
Looking forward to it.
Diving into so much nectar. We're just trying to create so many programs to people enliven. Great. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, this is Kṛṣṇa. Thank you so much.
Okay.
When you said that when we laugh, we feel what the beloved feels. Thank you.
Okay, good. We'll see you soon. And who else? Say hello. Okay. All right. Vancha kalpa turubhyascha kripa sindhu bheva cha patitam